Welcome everyone to the Grand Auto, the show where we help find the most suitable cars for you. Now, as of when this episode was filmed, the Diamond Resort and Casino update has been released, along with a slew of cars that will come out over the following weeks. Now, with new cars releasing, and considering this is a pilot episode, I've decided to start off with a bang. Introducing the Armored Paragon R, an armoured two-door luxury coupe developed by Enos. Like the Paragon R Armoured is based on the third generation Bentley Continental GT, albeit with armoured plating and bulletproof glass built in as standard. Similar to the armoured vehicles featured in the Executives and Other Criminals update. The Armoured Paragon R features a build similar to the Cognoscenti Cabrio, being a large coupe with an aerodynamic design. Its headlights are composed of two circular lamps, and next to it are two turning lights. One pair of the indicators has also been replaced with two machine guns. The sides feature skirts finished in black, and vents behind the front wheel arches. The rear fenders also extend a bit, giving it a bit of a bulkier profile. The rear end features a concave portion with a chrome trim between the tail lights bearing the Enos badge on it. The rear bumper is finished in a custom red, bearing the spaces for the twin exhausts. Now, it's also worth noting that it takes 2 rockets to destroy the Armoured Paragon R, buying you a little extra time against threats. Now, statistically, the Paragon R, the armoured variant, has 8 gears by default. This causes problems when one upgrades the car's transmission, which adds 1 extra gear. As it reaches the top of the 9th gear, it loses the ability to downshift itself. Therefore, unless the driver manually enters reverse, they are likely going to have trouble accelerating on the next start. Now, to some people this is all jargon, and I can understand where you're coming from. I don't care about an extra gear. Can I rob people and can I get pussy? Well, the short answer is yes. This thing maneuvers through traffic with an almost alien-like movement. It reminds me of Shaw's ramp car of the Fast and the Furious franchise, the way it crab walks at top speed. The Armoured Paragon R has excellent traction, which is great for the Vinewood Hills, but its most endearing quality is the car's speed. And top speed can be fantastic, but without excellent brakes, you'll spend half your time crashing like in an X80 Proto. But thankfully, Enos had an answer for that too. Try to do that with your bandit buddies. They'll be throwing up their breakfast. So the car sounds impeccable, but what's the catch? Well, no matter how many shark cards you get, you can't buy this car. And honestly, I think I like that too. Only once the player has completed all 6 casino missions as the host, the Armoured Paragon R will be given as a reward to be collected at the port of Los Santos. It's a prize that can't be bought by some rich jizzle, and I love that. It is a very nice car and definitely worth considering. But now we take a break before going on to talk about the ugly car of the week. This one comes from Pussy Slayer 117. Yeah, I know. I'd rather throw up in some tin foil and eat it instead of being seen driving that thing. And here Mr. Pussy Slayer writes, "Dear Mr. Bomber, I recently purchased an U.N.K.L.E Classic, and ever since showing off my new car, my friends have not spoken to me in weeks. My wife told me I'm a hack and left with the kids, and all I receive are daily death threats from phone numbers I do not know. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope. Sincerely, Pussy Slayer 117. Well, Mr. Pussy Slayer, or Mr. Slayer if you don't mind my saying, everyone around you is right and you should kill yourself. But as it is my job to help the little man, I'm surprised you're even still breathing. To fix this cataclysmic disaster, you should first reread what the car is called, a classic. A fine classic car such as the U.N.K.L.E should be treated with respect, so to go big on this car, you have to actually be a minimalist, especially with your colours. I'd recommend respraying the car with a more muted colour, and one colour, might I add. As for the wheels, remove the custom tyres and go for maybe something near the lowrider wheels instead of an iced out 5-spoked chrome mess. Not to say your rim selection is god awful, it's that those rims were not designed for this car. Now, if what you were after was a car with bright colours, literally almost anything that isn't a classic car or an armoured vehicle should work just fine. Hopefully, this should bring the kids home to a father they can appreciate. What's that? Oh. We have just received word that, Mr. Pussy Slayer 117 is no longer with us. He was beaten to death with his own toaster only moments ago. Let us all take a minute of silence for Mr. Pussy Slayer 117. To ensure you avoid humiliation and plausibly death, make sure to send us pictures of your ugly cars to help make the best decisions on your behalf. But, back to the more important matters. We've gone over the armoured Paragon R and how it has truly impressed me as an armoured vehicle. But there was a time long ago where there wasn't competing armoured vehicles for top spot, but just one car. And if you were to use any other car as a getaway vehicle, you were wrong. Introducing the armoured Kuruma. The Kuruma has a modelled twin-cam straight-six engine with an all-wheel drive layout and a rather unique distribution how 1/3 of the engine power goes to the front wheels and the rest to the rear wheels. According to Southern San Andreas Super Autos, the car has a 6-speed gearbox, a top speed of 236 km/h and weighs approximately 1.3 tons or 147 miles per hour and 2,866 pounds. The Kuruma features a turbo dump valve sound effect by default, which I adore, although the driver can add another turbo for his significantly higher acceleration. The performance is slightly different from the normal Kuruma. While it has slightly less traction, slightly weaker brakes, slightly lower acceleration and top speed, it makes up for these shortcomings in its durability against collisions and gunshots. Against most firearms, it is about 3 times as durable as the normal Kuruma. It is equipped with bullet-resistant windows that will rarely shatter if shot at, though bullet holes will appear. This can protect the driver and passengers inside the vehicle, as a bullet shot through the narrow panels will not damage the driver's health to a great extent. Though, drivers need to be mindful that their vision is significantly obstructed in first-person view. Drivers cannot throw explosives, and the driver cannot shoot their gun behind the car, both which are significant disadvantages. Likewise, the rear passengers cannot shoot forward. The only thing the armoured Kuruma is truly vulnerable to is explosions, which instantly destroy the vehicle. And high caliber weapons, an example being the Insurgent Pickup's mounted gun takes it out in 16 seconds, aimed at its engine, even with its armour maxed out. Though its armoured panels can resist some vague explosive rounds from a heavy sniper Mark II, therefore players will have to be careful around explosions when using this vehicle. In addition, compared to the normal Kuruma, its engine produces much more torque, allowing it to ram through traffic harder and more easily than most vehicles of similar size, but at the cost of its speed. Finally, the armoured Kuruma is immune to crash deformation, which is an advantage in that the wheels will never lock from any crash, but also a disadvantage in that the driver and passengers inside may not know how damaged the Kuruma really is until it starts burning. Because of the armour, the vehicle is noticeably heavier than the normal Kuruma. An extra 700 kilograms of mass is added to the 600 kilogram stock, and that predictably means it has more understeer. It's also slightly harder to roll on uneven terrain, although this is not very noticeable as the unarmoured variant is quite good off-road. Furthermore, it is harder to cause a spin out due to the armoured variant having better handling than its normal counterpart. In high-speed turns, the armoured Kuruma is less likely than the unarmoured variant to lift itself onto 2 wheels and potentially flip over. Driving off-road, it's one of the best of its class. minor disadvantages compared to its stock are completely overshadowed by its advantages. Owing to these benefits, the armoured Kuruma is extremely popular among drivers, often being a staple of many garages. And with that, back to the garage. Now, before we go on, there's one thing I forgot to mention, and this could make or break buying either of these vehicles. The armoured Kuruma has 4 doors, whereas the armoured Paragon R has only 2. So depending on how many friends you have, it could also change where you put your money. But regardless, it's fair to say that both the armoured Kuruma and the armoured Paragon R are both worth owning. But which one is going to get the job done quicker? Well, to answer that very question, we had scientists at NASA cook up this. This is the Grand Auto racetrack. Unlike most test tracks being held in the airport, this track pushes the cars where they will really be driven, the streets. The track consists of 15 turns. It has tight alleys, it has chicanes both big and small. The surface level changes multiple times to test the car's traction alongside a massive straight that can make or break a lap time. Now before we begin, a quick disclaimer. Both vehicles are not stock and are tuned to the maximum. And unlike most car shows, the cars will have a running start and will continue to do as many laps as I deem necessary to come up with the best time possible for each car. So, no bad runs and misplacing any cars on the leaderboard. And in most cases, that would be it. But because the armoured Paragon R has built-in machine guns, it can't be used in races. So alternatively, we will be using a replicated unarmoured variant. Now I have checked and both the unarmoured and armoured variants of the Paragon R perform the exact same, give or take 1/10 of a second when fully tuned. So we can still perform lap times without skewed numbers. Under any other circumstances this would not be allowed, but since the armoured variant has guns, I have been forced to do so. So, without further ado, let's head down to the track. First up, we have the Kuruma. Now let's see how it does on the board. The armoured Kuruma comes in with a lap time of 1 minute and 3 seconds. Nice, nice. That tells us a lot when no other cars are on the board. Yeah. Up next is the Paragon R. Very, very impressive moves from the Paragon. Let's see how it stacks up against the Kuruma. The Paragon R comes in with a total time of 56.7 seconds. Well, there you have it. The Paragon R is much faster, but the Kuruma has a higher seating capacity. From here, you can decide. The armored Kuruma comes in at $698,250, but it can be purchased for $525,000 after completing the Felisa job, which I'm going to assume most of you must have done by now, and if you haven't, what are you doing? And the armored Paragon R is free, but let us take into account the minimum cost for a penthouse. And the Paragon comes in at a total of $1.5 million, which really breaks the bank. So, not really free. Looking at it now, and that's not including the few hours work either to get those casino missions done. In the end, for each pro that a car has, it has a con. The Kuruma can protect you from gunfire, but not explosions. The Paragon R can protect you from vague explosives, but not bullets. So it's really a catch-22 and falls on a matter of taste. I would say own both. They're both exquisite in their own right, and their own special way. So what have we learnt today? Well, the armoured Paragon R hasn't knocked the armoured Kuruma clean off its podium, but that doesn't mean the Paragon R didn't give the Kuruma a run for its money, as the armoured Paragon R has clearly demonstrated its remarkable feats, and hopefully the Paragon R is here to stay and not be forgotten anytime soon. So with that said, thank you so much everybody for watching, and I will see you next time.